Hello, guys. Welcome to this very brand new video format of mine. I had this in my mind. I was thinking of uploading like a podcast, but well, podcast apparently requires mics and all those fancy sets. So, what's closer to a podcast? What's closest to a podcast? It's a discussion. And today, joining with me, and probably will join me for further videos in the future as well, it's my dear friend Sakhi from school. So, Sakhi, if you want to introduce yourself, you can do that.
Hi guys, I'm Sakhi Jain. We studied in the same school, Madhesh and I, and I've followed Madhesh's content for some time now. And I think we've had previous very interesting discussions about certain things that we will make podcasts about in future, hopefully. So I think these are some conversations that I think people would also be interested in listening, and I'm just very excited to be a part of this. Let's get it
I
started.
think we should.
What's the topic of the day?
Yeah, the topic. Yeah, I was gonna mention
Hmm.
that, but first and foremost, this is like a discussion, not a podcast, because podcast, fancy mics, fancy
Well,
backgrounds, and
discussion
all that
podcast,
things.
same thing. It's just a fancy way of
Sure.
saying that two
Yeah,
people
it's a
are talking
discussion.
about something. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So the topic for today, it's actually a very interesting topic. It's actually diplomacy, and so how we can get started with diplomacy is the first topic can be is diplomacy an important skill, and I personally think absolutely right. Like all other skills out there, diplomacy is an absolutely important trait one must have, especially when it comes to international relations and geographical encounters. If you just go out there and speak your mind quite literally, there are going to be wars, to say the least. There are going to be wars. There are going to be relations cannot be managed in a geographical level when it comes to just being non-diplomatic. So I feel like diplomacy is important, but I do have a problem with diplomacy and diplomatic ways to deliver something in your mind when it comes to personal life, or when it comes to just a more complex environment than personal life, but not so complex as to geographical relations. When it comes to just when you're just addressing something in a room, I feel like being being non-diplomatic will actually help you, because you go to a classroom and you be diplomatic, no one's gonna care. It should have some kind of flashy words, flashy body language, and when you speak what's there in your mind unfiltered, part of the truth doesn't go missing, and it'll be most fun for the people watching when it comes to a classroom setting as well. So diplomacy of course has its benefits, but of course I am more of being diplomatic only in very rare occasions kind of guy. So yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, I pretty much agree on this point. I feel like there is a very thin line between, deciding on being diplomatic and being honest. So if you don't worry about the consequences, I think you can choose to be an honest person. For example, international relations, obviously, if our ministers, if our diplomats are not diplomatic enough, they're not addressing issues in a sensitive and diplomatic manner, obviously we'd be at war at every country, right? And India is known to be a very diplomatic nation, basically. So international levels, on a lot of levels, where as you said, there are complex issues, it's very important to maintain that diplomacy so that there is peace and stability amongst nations, amongst people, amongst firms in general. But I feel like personal relationships also, there are certain situations where you need to be diplomatic, because in that situation you're worried about hurting other people's feelings, right? If you're close to somebody, you don't want to offend them by saying something that you would regret saying later, right? So it depends on situations, like yeah. So basically I feel like diplomacy is a very important skill, and I am towards that side. Like you said, you're more of an honest person, but I would say I'm more of a diplomatic person, because people, I don't think anybody hates me. I don't usually portray myself as someone having extreme opinions about a particular thing, which is not always good. I'm not saying it's a good quality, but it's just that I don't have haters, and I kind of like that. So I
Yeah,
am more towards the diplomatic side, I would say.
yeah,
Hmm.
I understand, but yeah, the point that you were making about being diplomatic, because I mean you kind of care about the consequences or worry about the consequences. My question here is, how far are you going to care about the consequences, or how much weightage are you going to give to the consequences, to the point where you would start sacrificing parts of the truth? Because when you actually start taking into account the consequences, and for example, if your workplace is corrupt, obviously going and telling the manager, bro, you don't deserve to be in this place, the whole place is corrupt, this is like dictator, this is like Nazi regime, this is like Nazi, this is like how Hitler would have run the company, obviously would have very horrible consequences. But on the flip side, horrible consequences, yes, in the short term. For when it comes to the long term, you'll probably get fired, which again, probably in that guy's case, he'll be very hurtful. I mean, he'll be pretty resentful when it comes to short term. But obviously, when months go by, he'll realize what he did was right. So rather than just sitting in the organization, just dying a very painful death, he can just get into the situation all at once and move towards more greener parts of his life. So when it comes to just diplomacy, I feel like, and this is part of the reason why I hate being diplomatic all the time. I mean, who wouldn't like just not wanting to hurt other people's feelings, right? I mean, everyone wouldn't naturally want to hurt people's feelings. Like, if you're a sadist, then I don't know. But I personally haven't met that many people who genuinely want to harm people. At least I haven't. So why do people choose to be diplomatic at that point? I feel like it's because, yeah, as I said, parts of the truth get sacrificed. Me telling someone you're you don't deserve a relationship right now, you're a loser, and me telling him, oh, a relationship maybe isn't the type of thing that you should be aiming for, has two different kind of, it's two different things. Delivery is, I mean, the message is the same. Delivery is vastly different. Me saying first, the line that I told someone, a very close friend of mine, 2 days ago, literally 2 days ago, was like, I do not care how your life changes after this because we barely talk anyway. I'm too far away from school. Like, I've moved on so far past school. Obviously, there are few people that I still stay in touch with. If I wanted to tell you I care, I don't, genuinely, because it has just been a long time and I don't want to lie to you. I don't care how you live your life or how the situation plays out. But if I genuinely did care, this is what I'll tell you. You don't deserve this relationship. You shouldn't be looking for the relationship for the reason that you're looking for. You should go and improve your life, because I can't say this on YouTube. So when I said that, obviously it hurt him. I could literally see in the text that I was sending, it was hurting him. But at the end of the day, he was just like, bro, thank you so much. You do not know how much this meant. Like, thank you so much for being honest. And I feel like honesty is always the best policy, you know? And no cliche, leave the cliche apart. Honest, who would tell someone, bro, I don't care how the situation plays out? People won't care, but people will still go as far as telling someone, oh, but like, as much as I care about you, I don't want you to do bullshit. I couldn't care less. You get hurt because of the situation. You don't get hurt. My life is still the same. I frankly do not care. If I did care, this is what I do. And frankly, in these types of situations only, I kind of am very grateful that I'm not a diplomatic person because I cannot help people to the lengths or the extents at which I normally help people by being not diplomatic. If I was diplomatic, I hope that made sense. I hope that
I
made
got your
sense.
point.
Yeah. So, as the famous Jordan Peterson guy says, you should always say the truth, or at least don't lie. So, if you ask me about your makeup, I'll either say you look fantabulous, or I'd make this hand gesture. I've learned this over the last 2 weeks. I've learned this. I do not.
That could be offensive. I'm like, I'll worry about how I'm looking. Am I looking hideous or what?
If
You
you
can't
look
just
hideous,
go.
if you don't look hideous, I can't tell you. I mean, maybe the powder was off.
This just means that I can't say it. I mean, that'll offend you. It just means that.
I'll say this and like, what does this mean? And I'll reply, oh, it's just nothing bad. Like, maybe extreme. And people who know me do know that I hold extreme opinions. And coming to extreme opinions, you said this point about I don't have people hating me.
Mm.
I personally do have people hating me. Of course, I look at the way I am. Obviously, I garner hatred, but I feel like it's a necessary sacrifice, I would say, because when I express my opinions in the extreme form that I do, telling people exactly what I believe in, I polarize people. Either you completely hate me or you're completely on my team. There is no in between. Oh, but Madhesh, I agree with some of his points, with some of his points. Nah. It's mostly not like that with the people I have around me. It's like they either are ready to die for me, they're ready to take a bullet for me, and they're ready to go to any extents for me, or they completely hate me. They would want to put a bullet in me. It's just like I kind of like living that kind of adventurous experience. Maybe if I get more popular, it can be more dangerous, because I probably would have to go out with proper guards and all those things. But I don't know. Diplomacy just gives for a more, I mean, not being diplomatic gives for a more adventurous lifestyle, and I'm all for adventure,
Sure,
right?
it also depends on if you, for example, with me, people are like, see, even when you're diplomatic, I feel like there is certain kind of respect that builds around you, right? So you know that Sakhi, okay, Sakhi is not going to say something offensive, but she is going to address something that's important, right? Even in this discussion that we're having, you told me that it's surprising and it's actually very good that after every discussion we just don't end up hating each other. We have good conversations, and you don't hate me, I don't hate you, because yeah, so there is a natural mutual respect that we've built, correct? So I think that way also diplomacy helps on a lot of levels. And yeah, so there are things that I agree about it, there are things I disagree about. In personal relationships you cannot always be diplomatic, because then obviously it hides the truth, and you got to be truthful when you need to leave an impact,
Not just
especially on
truthful, you
something.
need to be emotional as well. You need to be angry. You need to be frustrated. He's like, you shouldn't probably be living like this. You shouldn't probably be living like this. Different delivery.
It's, yeah, it depends on relationships, hugely on relationships.
Next topic is obviously, I mean, next question is obviously it plays in your favor actually. I'm being anti-diplomatic. It probably doesn't play out in all forms of endeavor. You
Mm,
probably it isn't applicable for all forms of life. Just I mean, but like I would make an argument here. That's kind of like, as I said, I do agree, right? Being diplomatic is a skill. So if
mm,
I choose to be diplomatic, I should be able to. But obviously I feel like to have the most impact in places and to just voice out what you think in a very coherent, in as close to the truth you believe as possible, being diplomatic isn't the way to go. Do I think being diplomatic is important? Absolutely. Is it a skill? Absolutely. Should you choose where to be diplomatic and where to not be diplomatic? Absolutely. Do I think in more cases, in do I think in most of the cases being non-diplomatic gets you further than being diplomatic? I believe that, because that's how I've been living my life for the past year. I'm not saying it has been easy, but the highs, it's unparalleled. The highs that I reach when I live like this, it's unparalleled.
mm.
So yeah, what do you think about that?
I feel like it also depends on who you're dealing with and how many people you're dealing with. For example, society at large, if you look at it, there are all kinds of people with all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of opinions, extreme, neutral, the other extreme, all kinds of people. So when you're talking about issues that relate to all of them, there needs to be some a sense of diplomacy, because anything, any statement that you make, any extreme statement that you make is going to create disharmony amongst a certain group of people, right? Then you have to be, it's basically, being diplomatic is creating a shield for yourself. You're protecting yourself from people harming you, because you don't want to say something that's going to hurt them. So yeah, on a personal level it's fine, you're dealing with very limited people, you know how your relationship is with them, so you can be honest sometimes. But on a large scale, society as a whole, countries as a whole, you I believe like diplomacy works the best.
I feel like, and I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. I actually think it may be appalling to even hear this, but I actually think I'm a pretty diplomatic person myself. But it's just that I'm only diplomatic to one, three, four, five people. Because how do I put this? How do I frame this? Yeah, diplomacy, I feel like it's such an invaluable part of your character, being diplomatic, that when I portray non-diplomacy always, they're like, oh my god, this guy's always rude and all these things. I'm not exactly rude, but this guy's always voicing his opinions in such an extreme way, he's so open and all these things. When I'm actually diplomatic, when I actually this whole things back or deliver things, I actually put a lot of thought into delivering certain things to certain people. Very few, sets of people. If I want to say something, I actually think about it so many times on how to deliver it the right way, how to hurt them as less as possible. But to be honest, like most people that I speak to and most people in this world, to be honest, do not deserve to be do not deserve to see your diplomatic side. Why? I mean, why would they even deserve to see your diplomatic side? Last thing, we were having this discussion, and you made this point about how we were able to make this, I mean, have this conversation and disagree and still have a very fruitful like conversation. When I try having this exact setting with other people, they tend to attack me for my beliefs. I never bother attacking them for their beliefs, although I can, and I do when it comes to friends. But when it comes to me, they always attack me. And when I say something, when I respond to it as diplomatic as possible, and this has, I've tried as diplomatic as possible. Probably this is probably X, probably Y, and they're like, oh, that's so misogynistic. If I'm going to get called this anyway, why not just speak out what I think in the first place? You don't even deserve to see this very diplomatic, like very, oh my God, this is not even what I believe. What I actually believe is twice as extreme as this. You disagreeing with me, it's absolutely fine. But also it has to be the other way around as well. If I disagree with you, you attack my values, it's fine. I don't even blame you. You should attack my values and I should be able to defend them. If at all, while defending, most of the people will start calling me misogynist, will start calling me sexist, will start saying that I have no experience in life, will start saying that I will change my mind about this when I grow up, and this guy is, and the kind of people who tell me are like fucking bombarded with loans and all these things, bombarded with loans in a very bare minimum, in a career which pays the bare minimum wage. No offense, I do not say any of these things to them. Obviously, I'm a very diplomatic person. Obviously.
Sure.
But like I just sit there, take their advice, and think to myself, okay, this guy's saying all this, but like his advice is only going to get me where he is currently. Do I even want to go there? You're barely scraping enough money to live. You're barely scraping enough money to pay your expenses, live, let alone like live your life. And I want to travel the world, buy expensive cars, watches. What good would taking your advice give me? You're diplomatic person, you're not so successful in your field, and they are attacking me. I don't mind because I have my values strong. My values are strong. It's backed with facts. It's backed with countless amounts of, I've actually changed some of my stances in arguments as well because I've lost to some people, and I don't mind losing. My values are solely based to improve my life, right? But when I start attacking people, it's not even attacking. I'll word that differently. When I start testing their beliefs, testing how strong their beliefs are,
Diplomacy.
they start crumbling. They start crumbling, and they start using this as a mask. You probably should let people think for themselves. You should let people have their own opinions, have their own views. You just attacked me. Excuse me? Hello? If it comes for you, it's blood. If it comes for me, it's like tomato curry. What are we doing here? Hello?
Yeah, some people are just not as receptive, and they just
Exactly.
without
See,
facts and all of that, right?
exactly. So my point is, diplomacy is again invaluable skill, but it's a skill. Every person out there doesn't deserve my diplomatic side. If you are going to sit there, call me a loser for believing what I believe in, at least tell me why you're calling me a loser, right? And if you tell me and I actually agree with it, I'm like, oh my god, yeah, oh my god, yeah, I probably should have worded that, but I'm that person. You do not know how many L's I take on a daily when it comes to my friends. You do not know. And I'm that kind of person. I do not mind taking L's when it comes to just improving my beliefs and values. So being diplomatic, I am a very diplomatic person. See, as much
You're
as I
working on that,
advertise,
I can see.
I am working on that skill. I mean, probably delivering it better. When I just deliver it to the masses, all stupid donkeys, all undeserving people of my diplomacy, I get used to it. So when someone close comes along and when I genuinely do not want to hurt them, I start thinking, oh my God, this is so hard. This is so hard. How do I word this differently? But I still wanted to deliver the same.
I think with people like that, people who are kind of stupid or not receptive, I feel like saying anything at all is a waste of your energy. So you gotta just weigh the consequences. So you can either just stay silent, because then there's no point saying anything. You're not getting anything back. So it's pretty base, like you said. Hmm.
Yeah, after we had a conversation only, I actually started thinking. I say it is a skill. I say it's a skill, but I'm myself. I'm pretty inept at it. And after that only, I started. But disclaimer: I started practicing this only for close people, two,
Hmm.
three, four people, right? Two, three, four people. But those people deserve this side of me. I kind of owe them to learn how to be diplomatic and all these things because I genuinely care. Part of the reason why I do not care, but part of the reason why I'm not so diplomatic when it comes to other people is because genuinely I do not care about them. I do not care about hurting people's opinions or hurting people's feelings. I just care about putting my truth out there.
Hmm.
Now, my truth mostly, if you actually extrapolate my truth or what I genuinely believe in, it's not so offensive in the start. It's not so offensive to start with. And maybe it goes against what you believe in, but I deliver it in such an extreme way. People who can understand what I genuinely mean, are not pissed. They understand. Oh, you're welcome. You're open to think that way and all these things. But oh my god, the people who just get stuck in that first level, oh my god, how can you deliver like that? Like I said, men
I
are
just feel
strong.
like uh, the thing about as far as much as I know you, your extreme I'm sorry, your opinions are uh, not conventional, not what conventionally people think, right? The way
Not
they think,
politically
and
correct.
yeah, sometimes, yeah, not politically correct. So you have such opinions, and on top of that you deliver it in a language that people are not comfortable with. It's naturally going to make them super angry and aggressive. So that's
I
kind
deliver
of
it to piss
understandable.
people off.
But yeah, I get where you're going with this.
Part of the reason why I'm also living like this is because, see, Jordan Peterson, he said, go and say your truth and all these things. I was like, but what is this guy saying? I mean, what advice is this? Go and speak your truth. Everyone is speaking the truth, right? No, absolutely not. And just genuinely speaking out the truth, I can tell you, just try it. Try it for 1 month. See how genuinely hard it is. It'll naturally turn you or turn anyone into someone like me. Just like naturally ingrained towards these kinds of uncomfortable discussions or uncomfortable conversations. When when I walk into a room and some people who have had discussions or conversations with me and they say something controversial, they look towards me and I'm like, I just start and like, don't start. It's okay. You don't start. We understand. We are wrong. You're right. We understand. See, why do these kinds of reactions stem from people? It's not because, see, I do not, it's not like I don't let them speak, obviously. I let everyone speak. But it's just that when they speak, I speak. And somehow I present my points in a way that disproves their own beliefs. They kind of get defensive because obviously it hurts when your belief systems get disproven, when your belief systems kind of starts changing, it hurts. And when it starts hurting, they're like they kind of jump to start getting defensive as if my intention is to attack them. It's not. It's genuinely, it's very rarely the case. I do it. I am being very honest. I do personal attacks. But when do I do personal attacks? It's just when people come at me, I defend myself. At the end of the conversation, it's like, oh, with Madhesh, we had a nice conversation. Did we really have a nice conversation? Did we really? That is the kind of attack I do. It's very subtle, right? But my point is, when it comes to these discussions, it's not to attack people in the first place, but I just end up doing it because that's the cost at which I say the truth. When
Okay,
you
I
hear
feel
things like,
like I feel like it. Are you sure whatever you say is not offensive to people? Like just naturally offensive, or is it just subtle sarcasm or whatever you
naturally
call
offensive, okay, sure, it may be, but
it?
why? But why? Honestly, most of my delivery, I wouldn't say it's so offensive, especially if it is with someone who I kind of know. You
Mm.
disagree, I disagree, but like, okay, that's about it. You're not going to attack me, right? You're not going to, okay, genuinely personally attack me. It's not the kind of person you are. So with you, I can be more open. When I
Mm.
am more open, more of my views are extreme. So at that kind of point, it's kind of inevitable because this is what I genuinely believe in. If you don't believe in it, that's fine. But I think when I voice my extreme views, it's naturally designed to attract people heavily or repel people heavily, like they kind of push people away, right? And
I
when it
get it.
comes to just new people, if I'm having a discussion with them, I probably wouldn't deliver it the same. I probably will test the waters, how they are. As the conversation goes on, I'll probably load it. I'm not the kind of person who's just like comes and like, okay, women are weak. I'm not that kind of person. I actually start to get riled up, and if that person is starting to make it kind of a debate, when it comes to a debate, I do all sorts of attacks because it's fun. I do all sorts of attacks. You do
That's
all
what
sorts
a
of attacks.
debate
It's
is
fun.
all about. Hmm.
Exactly. It's bloody fun. If it turns into a debate, discussions and debates, two things. This is a discussion. This is not more so a debate. If it comes to a debate, obviously I'll start throwing attacks here and there. I expect you to throw attacks the same. I'll point out the personal attack. It's your job to kind of convince me it's not. And when I personally attack you and you call me out on it, it's my kind of job or it's my kind of skill in order to deflect it. Debates, discussions. So, do I genuinely make an effort to make things less offensive? Absolutely. Very rare.
Good
Two very rare
clarification.
people. Very rare people. Most of the time, absolutely not. Most of the time, absolutely, because I genuinely couldn't care less.
Hmm.
If I could care, if they disagree, they provide me with points, actual points, which are factually right. I was like, okay, this is something that I did not consider. I'll take the L, obviously, of course. But if it's not something that's factually right, it's stemming from pure emotion. I'll sit there make a comment about that as well. Like, okay, this is all stemming from emotion. You're a simp. You're a feminist, pseudo feminist. All these values aren't going to get you laid. All these are things. All these are things I've told people. It's genuinely genuine. Because I frankly do not care about everyone, and I think that's how the world is. You are not kind of entitled to care about everyone, right? And most of the time, people who you kind of converse with on a daily don't care about you as well. They'll tell you they care about you. Most of the time, they won't. But we started this conversation on diplomacy. I think we're ending completely somewhere else.
Always the case. That's okay. I
Yeah,
think whenever you voice your opinions, whether it's any kind of relationship, there is always a euphemistic way to deliver it, right? That's what, yeah, partially diplomacy is all about.
diplomacy,
But yeah,
democracy.
there's no
Whoa,
democracy, there's no diplomacy.
whoa.
No,
Sure, agree.
this is not a vague statement to make, because if you look at it, when you are diplomatic, you are also receptive. You're also looking at other people's opinions, understanding them, giving them space. Like this conversation we're having, it's pretty diplomatic. It's not a debate. It's not a heated debate at all. Having a peaceful discussion based on diplomacy and on the lines of diplomacy. And we are respecting each other's opinions. And I think it will conclude very well. So that way also, I think it helps. And yeah, you said certain things that I agree with.
So to conclude this whole thing, conversations was it's all, as always, it's obviously amazing having a conversation with you, right? And
Same.
like, okay, any kind of suggestions you guys have, just leave it in the comments. If you liked it, genuinely tell us you like it. Don't be diplomatic like certain people. Tell me if you don't like it. Tell me the areas you want us to improve on. So yeah, looking
And
forward
please
to
also
going.
let me know if you want to see more of me on this
You're so
channel.
diplomatic. You're so diplomatic, though. I mean, how can you expect people to... Anyway,
If
thank
you
you
want
guys
to
for
see me on
watching.
this channel,
Yeah.
yes, you can be
Thank
truthful
you
about
guys
it.
for watching. Yeah, obviously.
Yes.
Thank you guys for watching and see ya.